Good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome to the Dear Love Podcast. You can catch us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Listen Notes, Google Music, Podbean, all that good stuff. You already know how this go. Let's get right into it. I always talked about how old things come back to the new world. So it's been in talks for a while, obviously, but now finally LeBron has the team that he needs to do Space Jam 2. Space Jam 2. So of course you get the old heads saying, "Oh, we don't need another Space Jam. We got the original one with Jordan." And how this one doesn't even follow the same plot. It's kind of like LeBron just took the Space Jam name and turned it into his own thing. Okay. Then you heard me talk about the Shaft movie that came along. Supposed to be, the three generations of Shaft. Then you also heard me speak about the new reboot of Men in Black. Are we running out of ideas in the universe, or are we just, or is this a sign of companies trying to rewrite history to see if they could bring those bucks back in? Because again, off the reviews that I heard, Men in Black, some movies, I guess you could say some movies or whatever shows, however you want to do it, just shouldn't be made without the original cast. And sometimes you gotta leave stuff where it was at and just don't bother it. They was talking about a couple years ago a Martin reboot. Now it was still gonna be Martin, Gina, and Pam, but now what can we do in today's society to make Martin funny again? Now, granted, he's a legend. I'm sure he can write some jokes down and think of some things to say. But honestly, is it a time where we can say time is up? Will we really be excited for a Martin reboot? I would. And I know a lot of people who would, but remember, it's a business, so it's about the overall look. Who would really be excited? Space Jam 2. Warner Brothers wrote that movie. I believe it was Warner Brothers. I apologize if I'm wrong. But again, Jordan's not in it. So this is a whole new story, so to speak. Do you still name it Space Jam? And what about the new and improved Lion King? I'm so used to the cartoon. I don't know how much the animated, like, real life one to do, but I know I'm going to see it. So I guess that's all that matters, right? Is if you're spending your money. You look how they remade, the new Toy Story 4 is dropping. So it's like, we just keep trying to touch it. I mean, Toy Story 4, that came out when I was a kid. Do these new kids really know about this stuff? Look how many reboots of Power Rangers we didn't have. Now, Tommy stuck around for the most part in some of them, but that's another thing. Like, how many times do you keep redoing the same thing and hoping, I guess, for either better results or the results that you had reached before? Because, again, I'm all for the new Space Jam, and, again, I'm into the new graphics and things if they can make it look better, but wouldn't the new Men in Black, wouldn't it have been better with Will Smith in it? I mean, can you imagine, let's say 5 years from now, another I Am Legend comes out and Will Smith is not in it? How would you look at that movie? Dear Love, episode 66. It's like we just can't let go of the past. I remember listening to a whole bunch of younger people like all these new songs that come out. And now I sound like how my dad and my mom and, everybody used to sound, saying, hey, well, that's just a remake of such and such. If you like that, you would like the original. Or when they hear the original one, they're like, hey, they copied off of, and they mention like the new artist. Again, it's everywhere. The music industry too, just remaking older songs to try to get that feel back. The feel's not there anymore. Somehow we gotta kind of pave a new way. Make it relevant again, I should say, to be like incredible. I mean, you think about 90s music or just that time in hip hop. Then for the little older kids from then, think about the 2000s, how that went. when you just think about different music and different artists coming out, when you get them soulful sounding artists or them artists that try to bring back that old sound, that's why we love them so much. Why you think Missy haven't went nowhere? Why you think Erykah Badu's still around? Monica, Mary J. Blige, like all of these people that's still around. They wanted Tyler Perry to keep the whole, what was her name? The grandmother, I can't think. Medea, I don't even know if she was considered a grandmother. She was probably the mother. But like how long they wanted Medea to come around. And as soon as he said he was going to, get rid of the whole Medea thing and start a whole new type of feel or rebranding, look how they acted. Now, he kept pushing because, again, he's a great writer and he had different movies and other things to venture off into. But look how people was acting when he was talking about the Medea stuff. But remember, he originally was doing the plays. So when he stopped doing the plays and started doing the movies, what they say, oh, we want you to do the plays again. He was kind of doing them at the same time, but it's like the plays were always so much better. So then he started focusing again heavier on the plays. I mean, it's just a feel. Or what they say, she want that old thing back. Hell, he want that old thing back. That don't always got to be a girl, or should I say a woman or a man. That can be anything. Like I said, music. I find myself listening to a lot of older music. And what's so weird is it helped me think better. It helped me, put my thoughts together. Listening to this new, I just don't know what they be saying. I don't know what they be doing. And it's even like that with movies, man. I used to, again, laugh at my dad watching these old Spider-Man cartoons. Like, this is the original. I'm like, is it? Like, is this really worth watching? But then, again, you think about it and you sit back and you say, damn, this is worth watching. It is a lot better than what's on TV right now. I remember the original Power Rangers. I don't really care for all this new stuff. They turned it into this and that, and now it's only 3 of them, and now they wizards, and now they crossing the street. Now it's just like, hey, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it original. But sometimes when they remake these things, it doesn't always turn out well. And that's why it's always a risk at doing it. But it's like, who wants to really do it? Like, why nobody ever remade the PJs? I think that was a great show. But I think it only lasted like 1 season or 2 seasons. I know the character Romeo, the guy who played Romeo, had passed for Steve Harvey, but why not recreate the Steve Harvey show? Why not recreate the Wayans Brothers show? Like all of those shows back then that had us like, hey, I love watching TV for this. We don't have those same things no more. Especially not on TV, and especially since everything is streamed now. But you would think, oh, okay, it's streamed, so I could, catch this and catch that. But some of the stuff they don't even have available to you. Like when my dad back in the day used to have DirecTV, the only channel he would watch was Boomerang, and I never knew why. And it's because they played all the old school cartoons and the old school shows. That's what caught his attention. That's what he grew up on. That's what he wanted to hear. And again, I laughed and laughed and laughed because I'm like, this is terrible compared to the stuff that we got now. But I understand it now. Now I catch myself watching, I guess, a Boomerang, as you can say. It ain't the actual station, but just ways of watching it. Watching something that's older. And it keep me tuned in. And now I see why they say even content on YouTube never loses its value, because you can always go to it, even if it's older stuff. How many times have you caught yourself going back to watch an old movie? How many times have you watched Friday in the last year? Or even 2 years? When the last time you seen a movie that was close to that feel that Training Day gave you? Or Man on Fire? Even went like that with the 007 era. That's a funny era because I grew up on, what's his name? Pierce Bronson, I believe his name was. That was my 007. But for my dad, I think it was Sean Connery. And I'm like, what? He played 007? He like, yeah. And I'm just looking like, oh. But again, I didn't I didn't know how the old one was. I mean, I'm sure it was good to my dad, but to me, like I said, I wanted to see the new one. So then you got somebody else now who's the 007. You know, they always change up the 007s. So again, I know Pierce Bronson. He was the one that was on the Nintendo 64 GoldenEye game. That's the only one that I know. So that's the only one I really think about. You know, so everybody has their original. You look at the Ninja Turtles. I remember the original Ninja Turtle movie that came out back in the day. I used to go to this place called VidStar, and I rented that movie a whole lot. And to this day, I would still watch that one over the newer ones. Look how everybody was killing that new, well, it's not new right now, but you know, the newest edition of like how the Turtles look with the Michael Bay films. They hated it. So it's not, again, changing things up isn't always a good thing. Sometimes you gotta leave stuff where it's at. Again, I would never want to see another reenactment of Training Day. I think Training Day is one and done. It doesn't need a sequel, and it was good. Remember all those talks they had about a new Baby Boy? We don't need a new Baby Boy. Tyrese and Taraji P. Henson did their damn thing. Why would we make another one? I don't even want a reenactment again of another Baby Boy movie. Again, some movies just, they can't be redid. Some shows just can't be redid. I don't know, but music seem to be, they seem to get it right all the time. So, I mean, some remakes ain't always that great, but for the most part, music seem to be the only ones that 9 times out of 10 get it all the way right. It's all what you into. It's preference based, but I guess it's okay to bring the past back in, but we got to start creating new things, new ways of doing stuff, so we won't have to depend so much on that, like the oldies with the music and things like that. We still listen to that stuff because what oldies do we have of our own? Yeah, we got a couple classics, but nothing really quite touches like back then. Dear Love, T. Shaw, I'm out of here.